Special thanks to Horizon Therapeutics for sponsoring today's Special Fathers Network Dad to Dad podcast. Working tirelessly to research, develop, and bring forward medicines for people living with rare and rheumatic diseases. Discover more about Horizon Therapeutics' mission at horizontherapeutics.com.
I can remember at age 15 sitting in the middle of the hospital floor when she get that anxiety hit, singing 10 Little Indians with her. I didn't care about people walking around looking at a grown man sit on the floor with his daughter, because my pride was gone. I just was there with my baby. That's all I saw, was my baby needed me. And if that's the way I needed to reach her, that's no different than diving overboard if she fell off a boat.
That's our guest this week, Frederick Jefferson, a retiree and a father of three, including Jasmine, age 22, who has autism. Frederick and his wife Wanda have started Man to Man, a not-for-profit that helps families of kids with special needs. We'll hear Frederick's story on this Special Fathers Network Dad to Dad podcast. Say hello to David Hirsch.
Hi, and thanks for listening to the Dad to Dad podcast, Fathers Mentoring Fathers of Children with Special Needs, presented by the Special Fathers Network.
Through our personalized matching process, new fathers with special needs children connect with mentor fathers in a similar situation. It's a great way for dads to support dads. To find out more, go to 21stcenturydads.org.
And if you're a dad looking for help or would like to offer help, we'd be honored to have you join our closed Facebook group. Please go to facebook.com/groups and search Dad to Dad.
And now let's hear this compelling conversation between Frederick Jefferson and David Hirsch.
I'm thrilled to be talking today with Frederick Jefferson of Houston, Texas, who's the father of three, an Army veteran, retiree from the Department of Justice Bureau of Prisons, and founder of Man to Man, a not-for-profit effort serving families raising children with special needs. Frederick, thank you for taking the time to do a podcast interview for the Special Fathers Network.
Thank you, David.
You and your wife, Wanda, have been married for 31 years and are the proud parents of three children, Jennifer, 31, Christopher, 30, and Jasmine, 22, who has autism. Let's start with some background. Where did you grow up? Tell me something about your family.
I grew up in Miami, Florida, with my two siblings, Robert and Diane. I'm the baby of the bunch. My mother, single parent. The male influence in my life was my grandfather and my uncles, William Cleve Jr. and Willie J. They pretty much was the foundation around me that kept me on the straight and narrow until I went into the service, and a lot of sergeant figures kept me on the straight and narrow.
Okay, I'm sure there's some good stories there. So you'd mentioned that you're the youngest of the three. You have an older brother, Robert, and a middle sister, Diane. And I'm wondering, do you keep in contact with your siblings much?
Yeah, my brother passed. He passed years ago. My sister, yes, we keep in contact. We're the last survivor. My mother passed. We're the last two survivors. So, yeah, we keep in contact.
Okay. Well, sorry about your brother passing at such an early age. Do I recall from a prior conversation that he was also in the Army and that he got exposed to Agent Orange and had some challenges along those lines?
Well, no, he was actually in the Marine Corps, and I went into the Army. Being the baby of the family, like I said, you look up to your older brother. I probably would have went into the Marines if he would have went into the Army, but I didn't want him to know I was following his footsteps, so I went into the Army.
Yeah, well, again, sorry to hear that he passed at an early age. Mm-hmm. I'm sort of curious to know, you didn't grow up with your dad. What type of relationship or what did you know about your dad?
Well, I knew that he had a troubled life, and that, like many, he and my mother met young, and he just didn't handle responsibility well, and he left out. And I hold no hard feelings, you know. Once you grow up, you learn the path of life. So didn't get a chance to meet him, but I do understand as you grow, you don't blame anyone as you walk the path of life.
Yeah, very profound. Again, sorry to hear that you grew up without your dad, but fortunately you did have some father figures. I think you made reference to a grandfather and then some uncles. And I'm wondering, was that your maternal
Yes.
grandfather that you were referring to?
Yes.
What was his name?
His name was William Sr.
And what did he do for a living?
He was a farmer. Family originally was from Louisiana.
Okay. You'd mentioned that you had a couple of uncles. These would have been your mom's brothers.
Yes.
That played an influential role in your life. What were their names? What did they do?
Two of them went into the Army. Willie J. and Cleve went into the Army. William, he did farm work like his father. He stayed around and did a lot of farm work there. They pretty much just taught me more about life and how to handle your responsibilities and not run from mistakes. Just everybody's going to make a mistake in life, but what you do when you make the mistake, once you own up to it and step up to it, you can always regroup from a mistake. But if you run from it, no one will ever see who you will become. And I think that stayed with me all through life.
Yep. Pretty profound words. I'm glad to hear that these men, have played a role in your life. From what I remember, your career after high school started in the Army, and then you went into the Department of Justice Bureau of Prisons, and you worked at both the state and federal level, and you worked in quite a few different vicinities. And I'm wondering, what was it that took you from Miami to Louisiana to Michigan to Dallas to D.C. and where you are now in Houston?
It was increased responsibility growing with the job. I started off as a correctional officer, and then I took increasing roles, a position of responsibility. I went through the ranks as a correctional officer to a lieutenant, to an investigator, to a captain, to investigative supervisor, and then to an intelligence officer where I was on a task force. That's how I got to Houston and retired, where I worked a joint task force with the FBI, DEA, Houston Police Department.
So if you had to pick out one experience from that long career that you had with the Bureau of Prisons, what experience would you share?
I think the funniest one that made me laugh was I can remember I went through the ranks. I think I was in the regional office then. So we were going through an institution, what we call a character profile. And that's when you go and assess the institution to see the strength and weakness and how the institution staff doing. So this inmate walked up to me, and I didn't recognize him, but he recognized me when I first started. And he looked at me and he said, "Jefferson?" And I looked at him and he said, I was in Miami when you first started. He said, "Glad to see you doing something with yourself." I looked at him like, "I'm glad to see you came a long way too."
Oh, that's so funny. Remember, he was the inmate. You were the one that was working.
He was in Miami, and I was in Texas then, but you just transferred to another institution for disciplinary reason, and I was there inspecting the institution.
That's a funny one. From what I remember, you and Wanda met after the military. Some friends introduced you. If I remember correctly, she had Jennifer and you had Christopher when you got together.
Mm-hmm.
And that Jasmine is yours.
Right.
I mean, both of yours, I should say.
And we met at a time, and she was like, "I don't want to talk to nobody, I don't want to meet anybody working and stuff like that." She didn't want to meet me because she thought that I don't know what she heard about me. And then when I saw her, I thought, well, I don't know, maybe I can. Maybe I can. So anyway, we met, and we actually met at the mall. And we talked there. She had an escape plan. She brought her sister with her. and said, give me the signal. You say we got somewhere to go. And so I guess it worked out. So we're still together. I said, so you had a backup plan, huh?
That's a good one. So I'm wondering, before Jazz was diagnosed, if you or Wanda had any experience in the special needs community.
We didn't. We didn't at all. We were like typical parents, typical people. You see special need people and you have that empathy for them, that you know that they're different, and you just get a polite wave and hi, and you hold a door and say, oh, they're cute, or don't bother them, that they don't process things well. Just a normal courtesy. That was the extent of our experience with them.
When was Jazz diagnosed, and what is the diagnosis?
She's diagnosed at age 3, and she's diagnosed with moderate to severe autism. And matter of fact, it was our mother-in-law that really brought it to our attention, because she thought Jazz was deaf, because she couldn't do eye-to-eye contact with you. You could call her name, and if you weren't standing in front of her, she wouldn't make eye-to-eye contact. So we had her tested for hearing, and she could hear, and then they suggested that we test her for autism. And we ran the test for autism, and they told us, she is diagnosed with autism. She's on a level that she will never be able to express any feelings, to show any emotions or anything. And then they gave us this stack of paperwork that was stapled together that had been Xeroxed so many times. Half the names and numbers were faded, and say, well, there's some resources and some ports in there, and hopefully you can find some kind of help. And then the doctor walked out the office, and we sat there, and Wanda had tears coming down her face. And I tell everybody in the support group, the guys, when we talk, I said, at that moment, I had the dumbest guy moment in my life, because she was standing there, was sitting there crying. And all I could think of was, it's going to be okay. Because, that's our comeback line as a guy, that we feel like, if I tell you that, everything's going to be okay, when I don't have a clue of what we're going to do and what the plan is. But I think that'll make you feel good. So that was my line to her, and I had no idea what we were going to do.
So the first reaction was, things are going to be okay. That's what you said.
It's going to be okay. Like, I got this under control. And out of that whole paperwork, we went through it. And the only thing we found in it was a number in there was for a support group. And that was probably the best information in there, because we got a hold of a support group. We called and we went to a meeting. And that's when it started to kind of make a little sense. And the desperation, the hopelessness left, and you could connect with somebody. But at that time, it was me and one other guy in the group, and a room full of women and no one else there.
Yeah, well, it's a very vivid image. Thank you for sharing. I'm sort of wondering, early on, what were some of the fears that you and Wanda faced, raising a child with disability?
The fear you face is what's going to happen to them. People are going to target them, and they're going to pick on them, and they're not going to be able to protect themselves, and you become overprotective, and you just worry so much because they're so innocent. They don't know. Even to today, Jazz is 21 going on 22. She doesn't know. She just, that innocence is there. You can say, come here, Jazz, and she'll walk with you. And you always have that need to protect, to surround. And I tell everyone, she is a pedophile's dream. She can't tell. She can't tell anything. From age 3 to 22, she can't identify. She can't tell. she can't say he did it. She can't identify, she can't do anything. So you got to constantly be there to God. One of us has to always be there. And that was the fear and still is the fear.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing. It's a challenging situation, right? When somebody's not able to understand or perceive danger, right? And that's what I heard you saying, is that if you turn your head or something happens, she could be very vulnerable.
Right.
So was there any advice you got early on that you look back on it and that was helpful?
The best advice I got was when we got the diagnosis, and I tell you that support group meeting we went to, and the speaker stood up. He said, I know you hate it. I know you hate that diagnosis. I know you would like to hear anything but that diagnosis. He said, but take it and use what that diagnosis will do to get the aid for your child. You may hate it, but it will unlock doors to help your child. Because see, without that diagnosis, and if you stay in denial and don't accept that diagnosis, you won't get the ABA. You won't get the speech therapy. You won't get all the aid and treatments that you need to put those protections around it. So if you stay in denial and refuse to accept that diagnosis, you will not be able to help your child.
Yeah, what prescient advice, right? To get that early on, right? And not let your pride or your ego stand in the way, right? You didn't use pride and ego, but when you're in denial, I think part of that is your pride or your ego getting in the way. Like, oh, we can do this. We don't need help mentality. And I know good estate planners, those that serve the special needs community, are very focused on getting the resources, right? It's going to save you thousands, tens of thousands of dollars a year, right? Because if you're not getting the help, right, you're not as likely to pay for all those things out of pocket as you might be otherwise. So thanks for sharing. Were there some important decisions you made along the way for Jazz's benefit?
You go through a roller coaster before you get to acceptance. There's so many levels. We went through so many things like the gluten-free, the this, the that, and all these things that you think is a miracle cure, a miracle this. And at some levels, gluten-free will work, and at some it won't. I'm not going to tell anybody what to do and what not to do. But when we tried in the beginning, Jazz, like I say, she is severe. So a lot of things will work for the mild, won't work for her. And when I saw her refuse to eat that gluten-free, just lose weight and just would push it away, I said, I can't put my baby through this. It's more for me than her. And I had that's another level to peel off of that denial, that quit trying to make it where I can accept her. I just had to be all right with it. Like, okay, whoever you are, I love you. And I'm not going to try to make you fit in my world. I'm going to fit in yours. So whatever you are and however you are, I'll be that for you. I'll be that dad. I tell everyone, I can remember at age 15 sitting in the middle of the hospital floor when she get that anxiety hit, singing 10 Little Indians with her. I didn't care about people walking around looking at a grown man sit on the floor with his daughter, because my pride was gone. I just was there with my baby. That's all I saw, was my baby needed me. And if that's the way I needed to reach her, that's no different than diving overboard if she fell off a boat.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing. It's a very powerful image. And not to focus on the negative, but I'm wondering what some of the bigger challenges you and Wanda have encountered along the route.
I think the positive is Dad made us a better parent. She made us see things different. We started to appreciate things different. And on the lighter side, we always crack the joke and say, you know what? We think the doctor misdiagnosed that Jazz don't have the special need. The other two got the special need. Because if you look at them, they always saying, Mom, Dad, I need this. I need help with the light bill. I need help with gas. I need help with this. Jazz is just easy going, you know. She don't have any special needs. It's those two that have it. She's just a ball of joy that she make you appreciate every little bit of life. That it's nothing in there that it just bring the decency back in your autism. If you look at it, yeah, I would love for her not to have it, but watching her with it, she don't keep anger. You can get mad. One time we were together and I had the worst day with her. I mean, she was all on the wall. She was screaming. She was hollering. And I just sat down and put my hand over my head. She walked up, just looked at me, and she's a repeater. And I always ask, Jazz, you okay? Jazz, you okay? She walked up and looked at me and she said, you okay? It's like everything went away. It's like like little moments like that, it goes away. And I don't know. I guess I think that through everything else is that she'll always be your baby and always be there. And that innocence, it's there. And sometimes it makes the autism disappear. That one there keeps the innocence there. Always your friend, always by your side, listen to your corny jokes. The only one listen to the same music we listen to. So don't ask you to change the radio station or anything. Like the same movies we like.
That's fabulous. And you emphasize the importance of laughter. And I remember you telling me previously Jehovah's Witness story. And I'm wondering if you can recall the situation.
My wife Wanda her mother had cancer, so she was helping her mom with cancer. So at that time, I was taken up with Jazz. So I was watching Jazz, and me and Jazz had routines. It was a Saturday, and I was like, Jazz, get ready, and we're going to get out. So the doorbell rang. And I went to the doorbell, and it's to Jehovah's Witness lady. And so I'm at the door, and the lady was like, well, do you know Jehovah? And Jehovah's this. And all of a sudden, I saw her facial expression change. And she looked at me like, and I'm thinking, what? And I looked over my shoulder, and behind me, there was Jazz, naked, standing there, arms folded. And I looked back, Jazz. She like, soap, please. Okay, Jazz, all right, go ahead. All right, go. And I had to close the door and shut it and run back. And so I called this I'm telling my age, Fred Flintstone moment, where he used to holler. I called Wanda on the phone. I'm like, Wanda, you got to do something with this girl. You got to tell her how to put a robe on to come out and stuff and do this. She just walked out the house naked. And they don't care. They just don't care. They just walked out like, I need soap. I don't care. What? I don't have any soap in the bathroom. But those moments like that, the funny moments in life dealing with them. She just ordered the soap and she go back in the bathroom, nothing to it.
I can only imagine what the Jehovah's Witness person was telling their friends after that stop at your house. Any other fun stories you want to share?
Oh, the one while I was trying to call myself teaching her a lesson. One of our times, it was the cancer time. So I'm trying to teach her to use her words. She has limited words. So we would go to Dairy Queen and we get 2 ice cream cones. So finish her cone, and I were like, if you want my cone, you'd have to say, can I have your cone, please? So I was so proud of myself that she would say, can I have your cone, please? Then I started watching her. She would get her cone and eat it real quick and grab her head, get a freeze burn, eat her cone, grab it real quick, grab her head. Then she looked at me and said, can I have your cone? No, you can't have my cone. I thought I was doing something. You manipulating me. I told her, I'm going to eat my own cone today. She looked at me and said, turn the radio up. There are light moments that will make you just laugh and appreciate the time.
I'm sort of curious to know what Jazz's situations had on her older siblings.
It was a learning process that we had to go through. At a point in time, they go through their emotional roller coaster too. They go through a point thinking that special need is spoiled, that she gets everything and all the attention's on her, and we had to explain that that's not it. That, that there are things that you'll get that she will never have. You see, you will have a car. Jazz will never drive. You will have an apartment. Jazz will never live on her own. So some of the things that we do extra for her, you'll never get. And the fact that we had to show them that you still get your time. That we had to learn the balance in the house, and we had to learn boundaries too, that made it clear that you can have your moments. That we understand that because of her behavior, and she didn't understand that when your friends come around, that it can be embarrassing, and you still want your life. So we had to learn to either one of us take Jazz away and the other one stay in the house with them or something, but it's a balance. You have to learn. You have to learn how to parent, learn how to give them their moment, but then learn how we still all have to come together and be with her. You can't not put her aside and not recognize her as your sister. So we're going to all slice this and get their own piece of the pie. So we went through an emotional roller coaster, and we had to bring it even to show that no one gets any more than the other. And no one's any special than the other. It's just everyone has a different need.
Yeah, well, thank you for mentioning that, because it's very common that family raising a child with special needs will direct a disproportionate amount of their time and energy to the child with special needs because of their vulnerability. And it is a balancing act, right? And at the end of the day, parents have to realize that they're not raising one child, the child with special needs, but they're raising a family. And they all have needs, right? Some, like you were saying, are more special than others. And there's different needs at different points in their lives. It's not a one size fits all. There's no silver bullet, but you do have to, be very cognizant of, the broader responsibility as opposed to what might be happening, on any one day or in any moment for that matter. So I'm thinking about supporting organizations. I'm wondering what organizations that you and Wanda have relied on as a family or for Jazz's benefit for that matter.
As a family, I think I would say we relied on pretty much everything that's been accessible to us. We relied on the Texas Health Children Plan. We relied on the ARC Gulf Coast. We relied on local support groups like Blue Skies Over Autism, Hope for Three, HARES, Houston Autism Resource. We relied on many of them. The Texas Children, the Belgium, Samaritan, that's the counseling here. I'm not forgetting anyone. Houston College. Everyone that's available, I would say to anyone, every resource out there, take advantage of them, go out, look at them, and if it fits your need, do it. And they're going to fit your need at a point, and then you move to the next one. When they're small, they'll fit your need there. Then you move to the next stage of their life and just keep moving as they benefit your child.
That's a point well taken, because it's not like it's one organization that's going to be able to help you from very early age and then all through the teen years and beyond. But there's organizations that have resources for different age families and different situations for that matter, and it's important to try to continually seek those out. So I wanted to spend a little time talking about Blue Skies Over Autism, and I'm wondering, what does that organization do and who do they serve?
Blue Skies Over Autism, they serve the autism community, and the founder, Alan Fowler, and his wife, Annette Fowler, they have a son. The organization was really dedicated to their son. They really help families. They help with respite. They help with education. They help with connecting the families, with getting past the levels of denial and getting together with family events. They sponsor like Christmas parties, Halloween parties, anything to keep the family connected.
I'd also like to ask you about Autism Over the Seas. What is that about and what's involved?
Autism Over the Sea is a respite organization, and that is Mike. His last name is slipping my mind now, but his first name is Mike. What he does is they put together a group, and if you got a family, you want to go on a cruise or a resort, and they provide respite, and they'll watch over the kids and allow you to get out and do things. Now, Blue Skies has gone on cruises and take family on it, and they paired with Autism Over the Sea to provide the respite for the family. They are two different organizations. They do those two separate, and sometimes they'll work together.
And you've actually been on one of these cruises. I'm wondering what your experience was like.
It's wonderful. I've been on a couple of them.
I'm wondering, beyond your personal experience and some of the organizations that you made reference to, what motivated you to start the man-to-man program?
Blue Skies Over Autism. Like I say, going with them to their organization, and the founder, Alan Fowler, knowing him, I asked him about it, watching the fathers there. When we used to go to the event, I asked him, I said, you mind if I start this group and I kind of talk to some guys here? And he said no. So I pitched my idea to him, and we kind of fell under the umbrella of Blue Skies of Autism. And to his support, like I said, we fall under their tree, but he let me run my own thing, and we kind of matched off, and we took the guys and pulled them, and we helped them come across. It's more than just coming out there. I think I told you before, we took a peel back the layer approach, the approach that I'm more comfortable with, just peeling off layers and layers and layers to get to the man, to get past the denial, to get past all the questions and all the concerns, and put it in an environment where you felt comfortable talking about it, where you didn't feel guilty or ashamed or anything. That in that environment, it was acceptance, understanding. And then once we got past that, then we started working on the family. Like I said, from my own experience with the siblings, with the wives, with learning how to put the magic back in the relationship, learning how to do a date night, learning how to give everybody in the family individual time. And we kind of went from that, and we blew up we're still blowing up to things that I'm impressed with. During Hurricane Harvey, we were able to do some amazing things. We were tasked to work with the mayor's task force, and we helped families in Brazoria County area that were impacted. We sat on a committee to bring attention to the special needs, because they didn't understand about, when you have a hurricane, how to address the special needs. That when you send a little boat across, you're going to have to send two, because we got our kids that may not want to get on that because of anxieties. And not just autism, but all special needs. Even when you're knocking on doors asking if you're okay, what about if they're deaf? They can't hear the knock. So we got to learn, working with the deaf and working with the others disabled, and even talking to shelters, that we were able to contact shelters and ask them, do you need anything? And they were like, no. And it's like, no, let me ask you again. When we say, do you need anything, you're thinking of the typical people. We have access to the pens. We have access to wheelchairs, electric wheelchairs, battery. Do you need anything for your special need community that have been impacted? So we got to learn and access and grow more. And again, we're still growing and learning. And even joining with you guys and with Lewis, I enjoy growing. I enjoy reaching out, doing more. I tell everyone, Support is an unfolding ladder. There's no one stage of support. Because I help you here, that's not the extent of it. You're going to need help at another level and another level.
So, how many families are actually involved? How many dads are actually involved in the man-to-man program currently?
Currently, I would say we have about 45 dads. Now, that's actually involved. On Facebook, we have about 300 and something dads that reach out, and they're all across. And since we've gotten with your guys' organization, I'm getting dads contacting me all the time now, wanting to be a part, wanting to know what's going to happen after we open up after this pandemic. So, like I say, we're steady growing and thinking of how we're going to, evolve and handle all this increase. So I'm looking forward to the challenge and looking forward to seeing how we can get out there and show that we care.
Well, I love what you're doing, and thank you for taking the experience that you've had individually and then trying to help other dads, maybe ones that, like you said, are a couple steps below you on the ladder, and, helping them peel back some of the layers of what they're dealing with so they can get to the root cause and make the most of their situation. So I'm sort of curious to know what role spirituality has played in your life.
A great role. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. I would not be here if it wasn't for that. If you look at our page, on our page, we come off Matthew when we say, we quote Jesus when it said, "Come, I'll make you fisher of men." And that's our motto, to make you fisher of men, to make you better, to do the strength. And I take that spiritual part because I tell everyone, and I use it. Sometimes they tell me I preach when we have the meeting, and I tell them that when you think about the time when Jesus was talking and he said, "Cast your net to the other side." And I used that one time. I told him, that's what this walk has been about for me. That before autism hit my life, I hung on this side of life with your friends over here with all this life. And I never knew about the disability world, not just autism, all the disabilities. But then when it hit me and you look and you think my life has ended, you get to praying and you think, and that to me was that moment when it came. It was like, cast your net to the other side. Cast your net to the other side and look at these guys. These guys here were athletes, fishermen, hunters, sports talkers. They were everything. But for a minute, they lost hope because of that disability. But spirituality, a connection, to put that life and that laughter back in them. Disability didn't take that away. It's just learning how to deal with it took it away. So the spirituality helped me, and I hope it helps them to deal with it.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing. It plays an increasing role, I think, in families' lives. I really appreciate the role that spirituality has played in my life, and I'm glad to hear that it's played an important role in your life as well. So I'm thinking about advice now, beyond what maybe we've talked about, and I'm wondering if you could share a thought or two with our dads, our listeners. What advice would you share as it relates to raising a child with special abilities?
I would say, first and foremost, is accepting it. Because once you accept it, that's when you can do the child and your whole family the greatest. Because as long as you're in denial, you're in the shadows, and you're going to not be any good to yourself, your family, your friends, or anyone. That is the first pillar of that wall you have to pull back. The first brick you need to pull off that wall is accept it. And then it's never going to get better. It's never going to get better, but it'll get easier. And what I tell them is, this life is going to be it's a bitter pill to swallow. And just like with anything, and you go to the doctor, you get a refill. You're going to take that first bitter pill of acceptance. You're going to take another bitter pill when they enter school, elementary, middle school, high school, transition to adult. So, like you said, it's no one size fit all. It's no one bitter pill you're going to accept. So, take it slow, accept it, and realize there's nothing you did. There's nothing your wife did. There's no punishment. There's no blame, no fault. It's your child. It's your child, and you love them. And I'm telling you, they will give you unconditional love. They will. And once you accept that, I've seen heroes beyond heroes. I watched guys with kids 200 pounds, 6 feet tall, with a sheet tied around their neck like they Superman, holding their hands to keep them calm. That's a special man to me that'll do that. I watched the guy that has a son that make the awkward noise and make all kind of noise, sit there with his arm around him in a crowded airport, in a crowded terminal. That's a Superman, a special dad to me. That's that acceptance. And you know what people do? They look at them and they smile. They don't, you think that they're judging you, but when they see you accepted, they see you a different way.
Yeah, very profound. Thanks for sharing, Frederick. So I'm sort of curious to know, why is it that you've agreed to be a mentor father as part of the Special Fathers Network?
I agree because I want to make a difference. I want to touch lives. I want to help as many as I can through this journey. And I remember when you asked me about the Bureau of Prison and growing, and I remember when I made lieutenant, and this captain told me, he said, look, you made lieutenant not because of what you can do or what you can get done. So when you get in there, don't go in there and try to do everything to impress them. Go in there and show them how much you can get done by empowering people, by inspiring people. He said that will show the type of leader you are. And that's how I want to approach the special need world, by empowering and how much we can get done by motivating, encouraging, sharpening men. And you just got to show them what's inside of you. Because once you get to talking and laughing and opening them up, peeling those layers back, you'll see it's some really dramatic and impressionable men out there that can truly make a difference. You just got to reach them, inspire them, and encourage them to go out and be themselves and show the world who they are.
Yeah, well, we're very thankful for your involvement. Thanks for being part of the Special Fathers Network. So let's give a special shout out to our mutual friend, Luis Mendoza of the Washington State Fathers Network.
Absolutely. And he is one, he is another one that has a heart of gold, a vision, and he loves to inspire, encourage, and reach out and reach as many people as he can. And I love connecting with people like that. I think the more powerful people you connect together, the more we can pull together. And I'm telling you, what Lewis did with connecting all of these special need fathers in different states together, truly amazing, truly amazing.
Yep, quite an impressive situation. So I'm sort of curious to know if there's anything else you'd like to say before we wrap up.
What I would say, the last thing I would say, if there's a father out there or a leader out there and you're on the edge, not knowing what to do and how to do it, look in your heart and know who you are and know that you want to do this. You want to make a difference because, again, like I said, you're their voice. And it's something powerful about a bunch of men standing together for a special need community. Doesn't matter what the disability is. It doesn't matter if it's autism, Down syndrome. It does not matter what the disability is, that we all stand together because we're all fighting for the same thing, quality of life for our child. That is the goal. Doesn't matter what the disability is. And if we all come together and stand for that, we can make a better world, because as we age, they're going to age, and we want them to be in a better world. So thank you, David, for giving me a chance to talk.
If somebody wants to learn more about Blue Skies Over Autism, Man to Man, or to contact you, what's the best way to do that?
The best way to do it would be on Facebook, on our Facebook page, or our website, blueskiesoverautism.com. And you can contact us at email man-to-man, all lowercase, MANIIMAN @att.net, or our Facebook page, Man to Man.
Excellent. Frederick, thank you for your time and many insights. As a reminder, Frederick is just one of the dads who's part of the Special Fathers Network, a mentoring program for fathers raising a child with special needs. If you'd like to be a mentor father or are seeking advice from a mentor father with a similar situation to your own, please go to 21stcenturydads.org. Thank you for listening to the latest episode of the Special Fathers Network Dad to Dad podcast. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. As you probably know, the 21st Century Dads Foundation is a 501c3 not-for-profit organization, which means we need your help to keep our content free to all concerned. Would you please consider making a tax-deductible contribution? I would really appreciate your support. Thanks again.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you for listening to the Dad to Dad podcast, presented by the Special Fathers Network. The Special Fathers Network is a dad-to-dad mentoring program for fathers raising children with special needs. Through our personalized matching process, new fathers with special needs children connect with mentor fathers in a similar situation. It's a great way for fathers to support fathers. Go to 21stcenturydads.org.
And if you're a dad looking for help or would like to offer help, we would be honored to have you join our closed Facebook group. Please go to facebook.com/groups and search Dad to Dad. Also, please be sure to register for the Special Fathers Network bi-weekly Zoom calls held on the first and third Tuesdays of every month. Lastly, we're always looking to share interesting stories. If you'd like to share your story or know of a compelling story, please send an email to david@21stcenturydads.org.
The Dad to Dad podcast was produced by Couch Audio for the Special Fathers Network. Thanks again to Horizon Therapeutics, who believe that science and compassion must work together to transform lives. That's why they work tirelessly to research, develop, and bring forward medicines for people living with rare and rheumatic diseases. Discover more about Horizon Therapeutics at horizontherapeutics.com.